In this episode of the Butt Chronicles, we take a look at Beavis and Butt-Head, episode 32, Comedians.
Welcome to Industrial Industries World Radio's The Butt Chronicles.
You said welcome.
Oh God.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen and butt munches alike. Welcome to the Butt Chronicles, your audio guide to everything Beavis and Butt-Head. And I'm your host, DJ Glowing Ice. And man, it feels good to be back after a little bit of a hiatus, taking a break from Season 2 and jumping to Season 3. I am ready. I am pumped. I hope you guys are too, so let's just dive right into it. We are taking a look at Beavis and Butt-Head, episode 32, Comedians. And it first aired on MTV on September 6th, 1993. And that's all we need to know for now. So, what happens in Beavis and Butt-Head in Comedians? Let's check it out. The episode starts in Beavis and Butt-Head's house as the boys watch the show 60 Minutes on TV. In the show, an older man, Andy Rooney, is sitting at his desk as he says, "You ever wonder what happens to all the rubber bands and paper clips you lose? I think they go to some alternate layer of the universe." The boys look disgusted, and then the channel changes to a stand-up comedian on stage as he says, "You ever notice these warning labels on shaving cream cans? They say do not use near open flame. Now I know when I go to shave, I like to fire up the old Bunsen burner, you know what I mean? Hey!" As the boys watch this, they look disgusted. Beavis then changes the channel once again to another TV show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. It shows the mansion owned by comedian Andrew Dice Clay as he sits by his pool with chicks in bikinis on each side of him. Butt-Head, seeing this, gets a thought bubble with the cent symbol inside of it. He then turns to Beavis and says, Hey Beavis, I got an idea."
"Yeah, me too. Let's go over to Stuart's house and burn something,"
Beavis says, as he then holds up a lighter, flicking the flame on. "No, dumbass. Let's become one of those stand-up chameleons and make a lot of money."
"Yeah, money rules."
Butt-Head says, "We're there, dude." Then the boys air guitar and mouth a guitar riff. We then cut to nighttime as we see the entrance of the comedy club from outside. The club's name on the sign above the door reads, The Laugh Hole. Below it is a banner that reads, Amateur Night. The address for the club has the street number 69. The boys approach the comedy club and Butt-Head says, "We're gonna be rich." Inside the comedy club, a dude with long hair with a baseball cap on backwards is on stage. He's juggling an axe, a ball, and a chainsaw that's running. As he juggles, he reminds the crowd that he's a professional and not to try it at home. The crowd cheers as he first catches the axe, and then the ball falls into the breast pocket of his shirt. As the chainsaw is next, it falls and he misses and it cuts his arm. The juggler puts his arm behind his back as it spurts blood, and he says, "Hey, sorry folks, they told me my time's up. You all have been great, man. Thanks." The crowd cheers, and the host of the club, a man with a black suit on, walks on stage and says, "Okay, how about it for Wild Dog Bill, huh?" He turns to the other side of the stage and says, "Okay, our next comedian is a young man. In fact, he's really young. He calls himself Butthole. Let's hear it for him." Butt-Head walks on stage in front of the microphone to a cheering audience. Butt-Head goes into his comedy routine and says, "What's green and red and goes 100 miles an hour?" The audience is motionless and quiet as Butt-Head ends the joke with, a frog in a blender. Get it? Beavis is the only one laughing as he sits at a table by himself and he says,
"Yeah."
Butt-Head continues with another joke. Here's one. How do you keep a moron in suspense?" The audience is motionless and quiet once again as we see Beavis sitting at a table with a blank look. This goes on for a couple seconds, and then Butt-Head finishes the joke by saying, I don't know. Beavis laughs and says,
Yeah.
once more. This is cool, says Butt-Head. The audience starts booing as Butt-Head goes on with another joke, saying, This guy says to the bartender, I bet you $50 I could pee in that glass and you'll clean it up laughing. No, wait. Butt-Head continues trying to tell the joke the right way as the audience continues booing him. Someone throws a bottle at Butt-Head, but they miss and it shatters on the wall behind him. Butt-Head then looks at a fat bald man in the audience wearing a suit. He's sitting with a beer and a plate of nachos in front of him. Butt-Head asks, are you gonna finish all those nachos? The fat man shrugs his shoulders, and Butt-Head asks if he could have some. Another man in the audience yells at Butt-Head to get off. Butt-Head turns and asks, Is that what she said? The host walks back on stage saying, Okay, how about it for Butthole? He then fights with Butt-Head, grabbing the microphone from him until he lunges the microphone into Butt-Head's eye. The host continues saying, Hey, wait a minute folks, don't leave yet. We're just getting started. We've got a great act up next. His name is, Beavis. Hey, this guy is fantastic. Let's hear it for him. The audience claps and cheers as Beavis gets on stage. Beavis just laughs a lot, and the entire audience bails, leaving the whole club almost entirely empty. Beavis says,
You ever wonder why so much stuff sucks?
Looking into the audience, we see all the tables and chairs empty, besides Butt-Head sitting there with a black eye and laughing. Beavis then pulls out a glass that's full of an orange drink with a straw in it, and he says,
Sometimes I look at one of these little straws and I go, This sucks.
Butt-Head laughs and says, This is cool. Outside, we see traffic jams in the parking lot and everyone rushing to leave the comedy club. Back inside, Beavis continues with his act and says,
One thing about, gym class, it sucks.
Beavis and Butt-Head both laugh, and then Beavis says,
Okay, now I'm gonna, juggle.
Beavis holds up a rolled up newspaper in his hand and lights one end with a lighter. The next shot is Beavis and Butt-Head standing in the empty parking lot of the comedy club. The comedy club is now up in flames, and there's sirens going off in the background, as we now see Beavis and Butt-Head laugh as they watch the club burn. We're pretty funny, huh, Beavis? A fire truck pulls up to the front of the club, and Butt-Head continues, We should be on TV. How come that club owner dude didn't like us?
Maybe he's stupid.
Yeah, not everybody can be cool like us. The shot pans out as we see the full building of the club burning and firemen putting out the fire. And that's the end of Beavis and Butt-Head, Comedians. Now let's get into the music videos. First music video is My Name is Mud by Primus. Butt-Head mentions that the guy in the video looks like a dude from the movie Deliverance. The boys then talk about the squeal like a pig line in the movie, and seeing fat people in the video, Butt-Head says, Fat people are cool. Next is I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany, and Beavis says that it's mall music, and Butt-Head says, Yeah, she has to play in a mall because she sucks. The boys talk about various 80s female pop singers and who would win in a fight between them, and then they change it. Next is Sister of Pain by Vince Neil, and seeing fire in the video, Beavis cheers, saying that it's cool, and Butt-Head says, What's wrong with you, Beavis? This sucks. Just because you have fire in your video doesn't mean you're cool. The boys then agree that Vince Neil's a wuss. Butt-Head says that Motley Crue fired Vince Neil, and this triggers Beavis to say, Fire, 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 repeatedly. The boys repeat and study the chorus lyrics to the song, and Butt-Head asks who writes this crap, as Beavis says that it sucks. And the last music video is Feed the Tree by Belly. And seeing trees in the video, Beavis says that he doesn't think he'll ever see anything as stupid as a tree. Butt-Head talks about a tree falling onto the band because they suck, and then asks Beavis what he's doing with his hands in his pocket. Beavis says that he's looking for his lighter, and then Butt-Head says, Been looking for about 15 minutes. That's the music videos. Now let's get into the fun facts. This episode, among many other Beavis and Butt-Head episodes, were blamed for a 5-year-old boy setting fire to his home. It ended in tragedy. We will get into the whole fire incident in a bonus episode further down the line, but this made a lot of the episodes in the past get edited and taking out all parts of the word fire or mentions of fire and so on, which is why there is a lot of censorship in these early episodes, and Beavis was somewhat banned for saying fire. So for all the episodes in the past, and including the music video segments, such as the Vince Neil music video, all of the mentionings of fire were cut. The censored version of this episode played at 7 p.m., and the uncut version would play the late night slot at 10:30 p.m. So basically, right before Beavis holds up the newspaper and sets it on fire, it goes right into music videos, and that's how the censored version of this episode ends. After leaving the production company from seasons 1 and 2, Beavis and Butt-Head went back to traditional cell painting in this episode. So this was the first episode that went back to traditional cell painting since episode number 2, the pilot Peace, Love, and Understanding. Comedians is the first episode of season 3 of Beavis and Butt-Head, and it's the 32nd episode overall. And IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, gives Beavis and Butt-Head, Comedians, a 7.5 out of 10 rating. Now, I'll give you my review. I like this episode mainly for the first half of it. Like, them burning down the club was funny, don't get me wrong, but I just liked their digs on comedians and all that. Just, every joke is, what about this? What about that? And I think in the one stand-up comedy show that Beavis and Butt-Head watched, I think they were trying to make fun of Jerry Seinfeld because they used the voice that it sounded a lot like Jerry Seinfeld in that show. Andy Rooney, I remember my grandma watching him and thinking he was really funny, and I basically had the same look watching him as Beavis and Butt-Head did. But yeah, looking at this episode on paper, Beavis and Butt-Head want to get rich by being comedians, and they go and they wind up burning down the club. It's a very cool concept. Everyone's booing them, but they just didn't care. They're just like, yeah, this is cool. Even after everybody left the club, they were just enjoying their own company and just, yeah, hey, I'm up on stage telling jokes. Like, it didn't bother them at all that everybody left. And that's what's great about Beavis and Butt-Head. They simply just don't care. They're going to do what they're going to do, and that's it. And they're going to enjoy themselves. And there's some philosophical way to think and look about that, you know? You don't need anybody else to laugh at your jokes. You just enjoy yourselves. So Beavis and Butt-Head, you could get some kind of life lesson from them in some weird way. I love the music video segments. My Name is Mud, Primus, great song. Always love that song. Tiffany, she sucks. So good music videos, standard episode, average episode, a little bit above average. So I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. So there we go. Beavis and Butt-Head, Comedians, gets a 7 out of 10.